You're listening to Mad Men Sports, sponsored by Black Button Distilling. Guys, we had our very first event. It was the kickoff to the season event, and boy, it went fantastically. We had a great turnout. We gave away some great prizes, so thank you for everyone who showed up. We loved to have you. Zach, what did you think of the event?
I had a great time. I loved the turnout. Not gonna lie, I'm a little surprised how many people turned out for us, and I really appreciate it. Thanks to all the listeners that came. You know, all of our friends that came. The bartenders were great. Thank you, bartenders. Thank you, manager Aaron. Thanks, Allison, for putting it all together. Thanks, Whit, for giving us an opportunity for all this sponsorship. You know, I really appreciate everything that Black Button does to us, and I look forward to everything they're doing for us in the future. I love the relationship.
Yeah, Dave, you enjoy yourself?
I had a great time. I felt great the next day.
Good.
I would also like to talk about the game today. Can we do that?
We certainly can. So, from all of us, we'd once more like to thank you, Black Button Distilling. But yeah, let's get into the game. Rocky start, a rocky first half. 4 turnovers, but we did hold them.
We did it, guys. We won, though.
To a touchdown for a long time, and we clawed back a little bit. So there's things that we can be proud of as Bills fans, but there are some things that we can work on. Zach, let's start with you. What did you see in this game?
I'm not gonna lie. 16-0. I kind of thought it was almost a lost cause at that point. The offense was moving the ball but never finished a drive. The defense looked like they were almost getting gassed. They were holding tough all game. I mean, going into halftime, it was 6-0. You really couldn't have asked anything more out of that defense, who allowed 0 points. Even though it was 8-0, that was a safety against the offense. I mean, the offense didn't help the defense until the very end, which you almost have to tip your hat to them for pulling it together and not blowing this game, because the defense put up. Like, the defense absolutely showed up for the game today. And hats off to Leslie Frazier, Jordan Poyer, all the guys down the list, up the list. Those guys came, showed up, and really provided a spark to this team, kept them in a bout. Like, in post-game, McDermott called it a 12-round fight. And you know what? They stayed in all the way through. They were able to land the last punch. And
Rocky-esque finish.
yeah, I mean, it was great. The first half was rough, and I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but in our pregame, on Wednesday, I did say that you'd see a tale of two halves out of this game, and I didn't think it would be this much of a difference from the tale of two halves. I didn't think you'd be down 16-0 or at one point, but I'm glad that it was a tale of two halves, because 17-16, what more could you ask out of the Bills? They pulled out a win where I really didn't think they were able to grab one at one point. Le'Veon Bell showed up, not as much as everyone might have thought. I mean, I'm not going to lie, first game back after 20 months off, he didn't look terrible.
No, I mean, you didn't see him as that dominant type player that you once knew, but of course hasn't played football in 2 years almost. So you can't really fault the guy for not putting up monstrous numbers. He did control the tempo of the game.
The guy had 120 total yards. He played pretty well.
Correct. No, and I don't want to take that away from him.
But that's not normal Le'Veon numbers, especially not normal Le'Veon versus Bill numbers.
Bills.
Exactly. The defense showed up and shut him down. I mean, within their range. I mean, the offense wasn't able to score until that drive where they had a short field anyways. So it was really interesting to see the defense step up. The run defense looked awesome. The pass defense looked even better. Levi Wallace, a game-saving tipped pass.
Beautiful.
That was awesome. He was almost lost. He was out of coverage, out of position, came back, saved it. Another person that had a great pass coverage today was Taron Johnson, who eventually went out. He was great in the pass. He was, the biggest problem for the Bills today was Jamison Crowder, and that's just cut and dry. The guy had ended up having 13 catches.
Total yards.
Yeah, 13 catches for 99 yards. He was a problem. And Taron Johnson getting out of the game only hurt that more so. So that's going to be something they're really going to have to clean up. They're going to have to play Edelman this year, obviously twice.
Antonio Brown now.
Yeah, that team keeps getting a little richer, and now they cashed in and got even richer. So it's very crazy that we're going to have to play them twice. I'm ready for it, but we're going to stick to this game for now. Dave wanted to talk about Cincinnati earlier today. I said one game at a time. That's exactly what we're going to do today, one game at a time. So, Dave, what's your analysis on the Jets game?
My thoughts on the game was, as predicted, the defense was dominant. The defense carried us through the game. I thought they were going to have to make a big play to win it for us. They didn't have to, luckily. A lot of flaws on the team today I saw Jamison Crowder. We have to get that under control. Their top receiver, because we're playing a lot better receivers. That was one of the things that stuck out to me. He's not in the top 10 of what we're going to play this year, so we have to kind of get that under control, and I believe we will. That's the only thing on defense that I complain about. I thought we handled Bell to make him mediocre today. Played pretty well, but they used him a lot. They really did use him a lot.
Well, that's the point. You bring in a guy, you spend that kind of money on a guy, you're going to use him.
Yeah, he's
And
a vocal point.
They did go to him often, and I like the fact that the Bills were able to tone down what could have been an even more damaging, especially in the end of the game where they were kind of icing the Bills a little bit. They were up 16-0, and chipping away, 10-16. They got the ball back. The Bills defense didn't allow them to ice the game away with Le'Veon, and that was something that you really have to hang your hat on and take it home.
One thing
with you.
Darnold said in his postgame interview was the Bills did a good job having the playmakers stop the long ball game, which was Poyer. Poyer was playing the long ball a lot. Poyer was always on Darnold. Every move he made, he was on him. He sacked him today. Poyer ended up with 9 tackles, so he was kind of leader of the defense today. Also, I was very unhappy with the coaching decisions today. And I know that we'll talk about this a little more, but I was not happy. What did you guys think about no runs at all in the first? Were you guys happy with that? That's 4 drives the Bills did not run.
Yeah, I mean, Bills fans can never be happy with that. Bills fans are always too angry. Oh, we run too much. We're a run-first offense in a passing league. And then we flip that script. We say we have this young quarterback. We want to make him our franchise quarterback. So let's see him throw the ball. And when that happens, you're going to get people saying, why don't you run the ball? So it's important for the Bills offense, Brian Dable, to have that healthy mix. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a 50-50 split on passing and rushing. I don't think they knew what they had really in Devin Singletary, and I know we'll get into that a little more, but he really shined. Frank Gore didn't have the game that we would want him to, but I mean, as a 36-year-old running back, what can you expect? So I think as the season goes along, they'll kind of settle in on that balance between running and passing.
As far as the Frank Gore thing, I'm okay we don't need to use him yet because he's not going to have a complete 16 games for us, but we will use him. I was not happy with the Singletary thing because, listen, you got rid of McCoy a week ago. Our offense is not good enough to just abandon the run game for 25% of the game. That it's just not that good enough. And then you put DeMarco out wide, which is another complaint of mine. I don't understand the point of that. I know you're low on tight ends, but you have Foster not being used, and McKenzie not being used. If these guys aren't good enough to be on the field, then make adjustments because DeMarco's he's not a receiver. So give him the ball, but what is he going to do with the ball?
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, I think it's attributing to setting up specific packages that you put DeMarco out wide for a play or two. It brings the opportunity to bring him in on an audible for a run play. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. No one wants Pat DeMarco to line up and catch balls. I don't think that's in their intention. I think they're setting things up for later in the season where they can have those kind of trickier plays and with the audibles and things like that. So I wouldn't put too much stock into it. I think he only lined out maybe 2 or 3 plays, so I don't think it's too much to look into.
2 catches, but yeah, targeted 3 times.
So this is kind of both your points that I wanted to chime in on big time. So Dave, your point about passing a lot, and you know what, they were pass heavy, and that is the new NFL, something that the Bills haven't even been introduced to in literally since it started happening. You see the Drew Breeses with 5,000 yards a season. Matt Stafford. You don't see Bills quarterbacks throwing that often. There was even a stat back when Tyrod was here. When he throws over 30 passes, you lose the game. There was a stat going on forever. And now you see a guy like Josh Allen throw 37 passes in a comeback victory. This is the new NFL. And you want to know what's crazy about it is there's so many advantageous penalties thrown out there nowadays for the wide receivers to get away with things, for the quarterbacks to not get hit. It's almost beneficial. The odds are in your favor if the quarterback has the ball because it opens you up more. Now, of course, we want passing to happen way more and way more efficiency. And I honestly think they started the game off really hot. I mean, they got down there, they lost the fumble. That's a shame. They started up the next drive, and Cole Beasley bats that ball up, which, listen, the stat goes against Allen. I don't know if we could put that on Allen. That might just be a what the heck play.
It was a catchable ball. Beasley should have caught that.
I agree.
But
and you
it was
know
a
what?
mistake.
And that's something we've kind of seen out of Beasley is him catching those balls throughout the preseason and even in training camp. So I don't think that was so much of Allen making a bad throw. And he did have the tip pass at the line, which you're a 6'5" quarterback. Either make that adjustment or I don't really know because I can't explain that. That was a bad play because you have a tipped ball. And regardless, because obviously the defense gets paid, we know that. but you shouldn't be able to, tip balls shouldn't be happening to a 6'5" quarterback. That's what you hear stuff about Drew Brees and Russell Wilson getting away with, is having those tip balls at the line. And, that's why everyone stays away from short quarterbacks. This is Brandon Beane's prototypical quarterback, because that doesn't happen. Well, it happens. And, you have to live with the repercussions. The 2 fumbles, one is definitely on Mitch Morse, but I didn't love that play call to begin with on the 4th and 1. And that was a long one. It's not like you're like 2 feet away. You're a whole like 4.5 feet away. That wasn't an easy 4th and 1. I didn't love that play call. Obviously, the fumble in the first quarter, protection, get the ball away. That's just, second-year quarterback in his first start. We can work around that. And honestly, Allen could have had 2 more interceptions today, and that's something that really kind of slipped away. But you want to know what's crazy? The one itself with the penalty is the exact reason why you throw in this league, because you can get away with certain things like that.
Well, sure, and like we talked earlier about the interceptions and like trying to bat the guy. I don't care. He could throw 7 interceptions a game. He was out there all day balling. He did not give up. He was chucking it on the field. He wasn't discouraged, and his receivers were catching his balls. So you can make mistakes, just take chances. That was the problem we had with Trent Edwards. That was the problem we had with Lossman. That was the problem we had with Fitzpatrick. They just never, they dinked and dunked. They didn't take risks. This guy's taking risks. I'm okay with mistakes happening if there's reward eventually.
What a fun stat that I heard, like a fun sabermetric stat. It was like 3 minutes left in the game. With teams with like 4 turnovers or more, the other team has a 99.9% chance of winning the game.
Rich Gannon was dying to tell us that stat.
Jeez, and guess what? We're that 0.0% guys, so you gotta hang it out
0.01.
there.
0.01.
But I feel like we're talking about all the negatives. There's tons of positives today. We're bringing people down. Let's bring them up. What's your positive today, Jake?
Positive is the resiliency of this Bills offense. I mean, you certainly saw the defense get tired at the end of the second half, or the end of the first half, second quarter. But they came in, as Zach said, it's a tale of 2 halves. They came back ready to punch the Jets in the mouth. Once C.J. Mosley came out, it was a totally different game.
That was the game changer. That is why I think they stayed away from the run a little bit in the first half, because they know how much of a destructive run stopper he is in the middle there. And then as soon as he went out, you saw Singletary really get going. I mean, he was coming around on end arounds, stretch plays. He was getting the edge on those, and that was perfect because he had 4 carries for 70 yards, 98 total yards from a rookie. He's third all time in debut rushing for running backs, behind Thurman Thomas and Marshawn Lynch.
There's a stat for everything, isn't there?
Exactly, but no, that's fascinating. And you know what? My favorite part about this game wasn't the flashy play. I mean, for one thing, and we'll get into this a little deeper, but John Brown had a hell of a game, didn't he, Dave?
Well, I didn't talk about my bright spot yet, but yeah, go on.
John Brown.
Yeah, I mean, we're not doing a diamond in the rough yet, but John Brown had a killer game. And honestly, 7 catches, 123 yards, and a touchdown. That seems like number 1 wide receiving stats. Wouldn't you say, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
so maybe, just maybe, we got a little something out of our wide receivers that Dave's been yearning for weeks. Yeah, you
keep that up, buddy.
Yeah, you sit there in despair. Because I told you that John Brown could make a difference on this team, and he definitely did. And you wanted to say Cole Beasley was the top guy, and I told you it was John Brown. And you wanted to dog on him 2 weeks ago. And we had fights, arguments, back and forth. Jake was uncomfortable sitting between us. But I told you, I hammered home that John Brown was the guy. And there he goes. He goes off, week 1. Maybe he's listening to you, Dave. And maybe he's like, maybe you're giving him locker room material right there, putting it on the board right there.
So my positive of the game was...
You don't even want to address it?
We will address it. I have something planned for that.
Oh, no. All right, go on.
All the offseason additions we had with Brown, Beasley, Gore, Singletary, they were all factors today. For once, all the free agent pickups we had were all factors today. It shows how much of improvement we are.
Mitch Morse was great besides that fumble. I think it was a bad snap.
He made a mistake, but on that Singletary run, the one where he ran for like 22 yards, huge hole, which
he got around the edge.
I'd really like to digest at some point this week. But there was just all sorts of... All the offseason acquisitions were a big part of the game today. Even Ed Oliver got in there and roughed up Darnold at one point. It was just great to see fire in all the players and just a willingness to win. They never gave up today, and that was something great to see.
You want to know who my favorite player of the game was? And it's going to be surprising because I love John Brown. He's probably my favorite Bill right now. I'm not going to lie, especially because he gave me the ability to shove it in Dave's face because he was so good today. And
one game, guys. One game.
And then Singletary had a great game. And then Beasley kind of faded away towards the middle of the game. Maybe they went towards him. You know,
Who was
Jamal
your favorite
Adams.
Bill today?
Tommy Sweeney, the 7th round draft pick. He made some big
We might
plays.
have a tight end with him.
Yeah, he made some big plays in the end of the game, or in the middle of the game. You know, he kept the team along, especially in the comeback. I would say the comeback was charged by Josh Allen, Singletary, John Brown, and Tommy Sweeney. Now here, I'm not going to lie, we liked Dawson Knox. We talked a lot about him, and maybe he's a little banged up still. But Tommy Sweeney definitely filled a void today on that offense. It really made a huge difference towards the end of the game. Jake, would you expect that out of a 7th round draft pick? Because I don't think we were expecting that.
Yeah, no, not 2 weeks ago, I had no clue who the guy was. So, yeah, complete surprise.
Yeah, I guess so. You seemed very surprised right there. Dave, how about you? Were you expecting that out of a 7th rounder?
I'm glad we have it out of a 7th rounder. He played that one preseason game, which I can't remember. Maybe it's the Lions game where he just absolutely tore it up and looked phenomenal.
Crazy, right?
I was a little nervous going in today because we didn't have a tight end, and I don't know if we still do or not. But
Lee
Sweeney had a great catch today. I think he had 2 great catches, actually. And he got separation. And obviously, defenses don't have film on him yet. But it's great if they start because we could use another threat on that offense.
You want to know what's crazy? Just having Tommy Sweeney step up, fill that void, it gets me even more excited for just like you said, offseason acquisitions, adding something to this team. Tyler Kroft can come back, and we already know what that guy is. We know he's a high-profile tight end. He's the 25th highest-paid tight end in the league, and some teams have 2 good tight ends. So that tells you that he's definitely worth something to this team, and he's going to come in here, and I think he's going to make a huge difference in Brian Dable's offense. Now, you got to remember, Brian Dable spent a year or 2 with New England, and that was during the time where they had 2 tight end sets all the time. So I think that almost answers your why is there 5 tight ends on this team? Why is there Pat DeMarco splitting out wide? I think there's an understanding in that offensive playbook and even in that, the film room that Brian Dable values these tight ends a little bit more in his offensive scheme than maybe other offenses. And that gets me excited because I think there's something to be said about having Hernandez and Gronk on a team and then having them explode and kill it like they did. But I think there's even more to be said that the Bills have that much more and maybe more vast talent, maybe not as high end, but a little bit more deep and depth of talent, that maybe they can make something out of these games. And, you can have a game out of Tommy Sweeney and then turn around the next week and have a game out of Dawson Knox and turn around 2 weeks later and Tyler Kroft stringing together great games. There's a lot to be said about this offense because there's so many different weapons that are developing still. I mean, this year compared to last year, I feel way more comfortable with John Brown, Cole Beasley. Zay Jones only had, 1 catch today for 20 yards?
He had 2 for, I think, 18. But one of them was on a 3rd down, which was great.
Yeah, and that was another thing, and thank you for bringing that up, because I think the Bills were incredible on 3rd down today. At one point, they were 5 for 9, and that was what really made a difference at one point in the game, because 3rd down was where the magic happened for the Bills. That John Brown touchdown was 3rd down, if I'm not mistaken. And even more so, they were able to convert on those down and distance, and even in the beginning of the games, they were able to convert. The drive stalled out off of the 4 turnovers in the first half, and then eventually, you didn't see as much punting, did you?
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean,
Yeah, listen, I you bring up all good points, Zach, but my only complaint from today is I want a more balanced offense. We know what we have with the defense. We know the defense is great. We've had 4 different players get sacks today, which is also phenomenal. I want to see more of you mentioned the Saints and you mentioned the Lions, and the reason is we need to know what our identity is. Our identity is we have a second-year quarterback who hasn't even played 16 games yet, who shouldn't have the responsibility of going out there and doing nothing but throw the ball the whole first. We need a more balanced offense. We need if we got rid of McCoy, which is perfectly fine, no one's arguing that, we need to have confidence in one of the running backs, one of the 3 running backs we have, to at least run the ball in the first or something and just open up the game. Open up the passing game. I know it works for a lot of teams, but we don't know. We don't have a Stafford. We don't have a Breeze. We don't have a Brady. We don't have a Rodgers. We should know our identity and work with what we have. Don't put all the faith and all the confidence in Allen. Get some of the stress off of him, and let's run the ball. Let's run the damn ball.
What would you guys, or Dave, what would you say is a characteristic you see out of Stafford and Breeze that you don't see in Josh Allen so much?
Poise in the pocket.
Poison in the pocket. That's very fair. And what do you think comes with poison in the pocket? Do you think that's better completion percentage? Do you think that's more yards? Do you think it's more touchdowns? What is the thing you look to take away from poison in the pocket out of that? Better insights downfield, more reads. What do you
Have
see?
more time to throw the ball.
Absolutely. You know,
Allen's constantly on the run, which is something we're working on with the offensive line. But you can also do that by opening up the running game.
you know what? Speaking of my third downs, now that you say Allen's constantly on the run, in a big clutch point of the game today, they called his number on third down just to get like 4 yards. They needed it. It was definitely a very important pivot point of the game. And they went around edge. He ran towards the close sideline, got the first down. And that was when first time I felt all game that I was like, wait, this offense might have just clicked right there, because they were able to swing around the tackle. They were able to get the blocking downfield, and Allen was able to get downfield for the first down. And that was probably my momentum swing moment of the game. And it's crazy because that's not even my favorite stat of the game is the third downs. My stat of the game is 64.8. Jake, do you know what 64.8 represents?
Was that not his completion percentage, was it?
That is Josh Inaccurate Allen's completion percentage, which is way, way higher than he had last year. And I would say that, listen, I don't think that we're playing against all-star Pro Bowl corners today against the Jets. But I know that their safeties are damn good, that's for sure. And I know that the defensive line, and we talked about Greg Williams mixing up things in order to make things look difficult for young quarterbacks. Josh Allen definitely performed very highly. Listen, 2 interceptions, that's fine, whatever. Throw them out. Tips, whatever. You can't handle it. But when it counted, he was able to find John Brown up the sideline for a great touchdown, which it was a little inside, but, I mean, John Brown made an amazing adjustment on that play. And I think that Josh Allen was the catalyst for this team. And like I said last week, tale of two halves. Another thing I said last week was it comes down to playmakers. Josh Allen got a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown, and those were the 2 touchdowns the Bills walked away with today. I said when you put Allen up against Darnold, one is a better passer, one's a better playmaker. And I think today the team with the better playmaker walked away the victor.
Yeah, I think you said it right. Again, my only complaint is I want to see more of a balanced offense, and
I think that comes with time, though. I don't think they wanted to throw everything to the fire, and I do think they almost wanted to showcase the weapons. Is that so wrong to think?
it's not so wrong. But like the hardest thing to do is when you do that, you get fans bitching about we don't throw the ball enough. We get fans bitching we don't run the ball enough, which is what I'm doing. That's why I'm saying a balanced offense where you don't have to worry about that. You just trust the coaching staff to make the right moves. But with doing that today, they didn't run the ball until 2 turnovers were already done. One of them for a touchdown. And maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing.
I'm not making excuses, but that was
we had a fumble when Allen had the fumble. The Bills still went out there and just chucked the ball around and put all the faith in him, which might be a good thing that they have faith in Allen to do that kind of stuff.
But didn't we moved the ball on that first drive when Josh Allen fumbled it?
And that's what I'm saying.
Arm.
The coaches had confidence for him to go out there and do it again. When Beasley didn't catch the ball and it turned into an interception, then yeah, you mix it up a little bit. You start running, which the running game took a while to get going. It didn't start until actually the 4th.
Yeah, and that's really the turning point because, like I said when Jake mentioned it, C.J. Mosley out of this game completely turned around, I think, the idea and the game plan and the scheme of the Bills' offense. It even took away maybe a section that they were trying to avoid. Maybe they were trying to avoid the middle of the field a little bit. But then it opened up the running gaps a little bit. It opened up the holes. Singletary almost got that touchdown. He went back inside. I think he could have caught the edge, just like he did in Detroit. I do remember him scoring a touchdown in Detroit in the preseason. He needs to be able to run it. That's a rookie mistake. That's fine. And I look forward to everything that comes with Devin Singletary because anyone that ever doubted him, maybe he's slow, maybe he had a lot of carries in college, I think this guy's ready to be the workhorse back for the Bills. And Dave, I hate to bring it up because we already passed this. You mentioned Frank Gore. And Jake, you mentioned how you thought he'd have a little bit better of a game. When it was time to put the ball in reliable hands, get the yardage, push the ball a little bit, I said it to myself, well, it's time for Gore. And you know what? They gave it to him. He got 3 yards, 4 yards. He was a reliable back at that point that went downhill. And I think that's why you see LaShawn McCoy on a different team and Frank Gore on this team. Because there was a lot of points in time during the game where you saw Singletary and Gore blast through a hole, which last year you saw McCoy kind of dance around a little too much and not make it to that hole. And I think that's why you find Gore on this team and not McCoy, because you see Gore go downhill with reliable hands, fighting for extra yards in the crunch time. So he ended up with 11 carries for, I believe, 20 yards, but those 20 yards counted more than any 20 yards that he's maybe ever had as a Bill and will ever have as a Bill, because he was able to close out a 17-16 victory. Now,
I mean, yeah, besides Gore not getting more yards, I got the game I want to see out of Gore, because he didn't put up anything flashy, but he got us 2 first downs when they were needed. He's an older back who's just bumbling around to get extra yards. Singletary's there to do the McCoy type job, to be the focal point. Gore didn't do anything wrong. I want to see this out of Gore all season. You know, a great stat. He could be 3rd overall in rushing yards. You see that?
Yeah, I think he's like 500 and some odd yards away from being the 3rd
Isn't that
all-time
amazing?
rusher. Yeah, I don't
How
think
great that would be on the Bills side.
But I don't think the way they're using him, in the event that this game is kind of a precursor on how we're going to use him all year, no way he gets it.
There will be games where come closer to December, we do run the ball more than throw. So, I mean, he could. We'll see. It all depends on Allen.
all right, so before we switch segments, Dave, give me one word of what you think the Bills did today. One word.
Fight.
Jacob?
Resilient.
Nice. Fight and resilience. That is the kind of culture that Sean McDermott's been preaching for years. And you know what? It kind of came to fruition today, because another team, a Rex Ryan team, a Doug Marrone team, a Mike Mularkey team, a Dick Duran team, I can go on and up and down the list.
Don't mention Mike Mularkey.
They would have
That's
quit.
Malarkey.
They would have quit on a 16-0 game with the other team with the ball driving down the field. 16-3, they would have quit still. You saw Sean McDermott's team preach and follow up with that culture that he's been harping on these guys. These are cultured guys making that move. Now, before one last thing, I'm sorry. Did the Jets not throw to Trey White at all today?
Well, if
Yeah,
we
I don't
don't
think so.
hear his name or talk about him, then it's a good thing for a certain cornerback.
Must be a hell of a shutdown corner, huh?
Hello.
Dave, let's do it.
Diamonds in the Rough, the very popular segment that you people keep asking for.
What do you
Trick
mean?
is, I
What
picked
do you mean,
three-
you people?
I picked 3 players. First two we'll discuss. First, I'll ramble on about. And none of them are going to be quarterbacks, because we talked about Josh Allen enough. He's always should be the star, so we should never have to give him an award for that. My first diamond in the rough goes to Jordan Poyer, who controlled the defense today.
That's not your number one. That's your number
That is
3.
not my number 1.
Okay. So this is number 3, diamond in the rough of the game. Jordan Poyer.
9 tackles, 1 sack, completely controlled the defense. Not a captain, but looked like a captain out there. Guys, any comments on that?
Yeah, I thought he kind of commanded that secondary very well today. As you were saying, he was
No big plays for the Jets out there.
No, he was following Sam Darnold around like a hawk, watching his eyes. Didn't come up with any interceptions, but that's not necessarily what you need from your safety. Also, that sack was really big. I think that was kind of on a later down as well.
Absolutely. And my point about Jordan Poyer is that this segment's brought to you by Prima Pizza Pasta, located on West Chippewa and Pearl. Stop by, say hi to Kev. If you guys didn't notice, CBS in the pregame today had Kev from Prima Pizza on their Bills segment, part of the preseason, getting ready for the season.
A little bit of celebrity sponsors us.
How much of this game matters to people. Yeah, Kev was the Prima guy. So when you guys were looking, saw Prima Pizza, that was our boy Kev. Shout out to you, Kev. So, Dave, who's your second?
Second diamond in the rough is someone we've talked about. Crazy. Singletary. First guy's NFL game. His first run, I believe, was for 20 yards. Can't ask for much more. I don't need to say much more. Guys, anything?
Yeah, Devin Singletary shows that he can be that workhorse this year. Zach's been harping for the past 2 years on the podcast. Running backs are a dime a dozen.
Damn, are they?
So it's nice that you can kind of get a unknown 3rd-round pick and have him be your vocal point while kind of kicking out the door your valuable running back. So it gets me excited moving forward. Nice to know that you have this nice shifty little running back. He's 5'7", guys. I mean, I know height isn't the most necessary thing for running backs, but it's nice to know you got a little shifty guy, a little Sean McCoy.
Jake, it's not the size that matters, buddy. Don't worry.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys, that's it for Diamond in the Roughs.
No, who's our first diamond in the rough? The star of the Diamond in the Rough segment presented by Prima Pizza. Who is it?
I'm going to sit
forgot.
here and say that during the
did forget.
preseason, I heard a lot about John Brown. I'm not going to sit here and apologize to you guys.
You should, though.
I'm going
You
to
should do a little apology right here.
I'm going to sit here and say that he was the best player on the field today, not named Josh Allen. I don't know. I mean, he single-handedly won us the game with that catch. Phenomenal catch. You know what? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Sorry for what?
You heard it here
For
first.
doubting John Brown. I said I never hated the guy. I didn't have faith in the guy.
You said he wasn't even good enough to make this team.
Against a bad Jets defensive backfield.
Still making excuses. You said he wasn't good enough to make this team.
The guy had 10 catches, 11 targets, 123 yards, and a touchdown. What more do you want out of a number one receiver? We wanted a number one receiver. We might have a number one receiver. You know what? Damn it. I'll admit it. I was wrong.
He looked damn good.
I want to see us again next
Damn
week against the
good.
Giants. I want to see us against the Bengals. I want to make the Patriots want to trade for this guy.
I don't want that.
I apologize, okay? There it is. My segment for the rest of the stuff is over for the night.
So, guys, is there a chance that John Brown could be the best Brown in the AFC East, or do you think Antonio will take that from him?
Yeah, no, I don't think so, unfortunately. I
Hey,
think A.J.
I will
Brown's
not
still
talk
ahead of
about
John,
Antonio
too.
Yeah, so, I mean, we don't want to talk about Antonio Brown, but how crazy is that? We have to deal with this asshole, huh? I mean, damn, the Patriots get richer every time. Throw us a bone.
Bills fans, one day we will be free from the Patriots. Once Tom Brady passes away,
Guys.
Bill Belichick dies.
Guys,
Robert Kraft goes to jail for prostitution.
I know I like to say 1 week at a time, but I know these next 2 weeks might be a little bit on the easier side. This might have been the obstacle. If you see us week 4, undefeated, at New Era Stadium, it's going to be a little wild, isn't it?
It's going to be lit.
There's even more passion behind it because, the whole... We know it's not true, but, the whole Antonio Brown didn't want to play for the Bills. Whether it's true or not, it's kind of lingering over Bills fans' heads a little bit. Kind of a little bit of a laughingstock on Twitter for a couple weeks. I know I want to beat that guy. That's for damn sure, huh?
Hey, I want Trey Wade to lock his shit up.
Yeah, let's see him go against him.
David?
I hate Antonio Brown. That's all I have to say.
That's all anyone should have to say.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday for our preview.
Bills versus Giants
to
preview.
the Giants.
Bills versus Barkley preview.
And listen, I don't like to call myself Nostradamus or anything, but I definitely called Tale of Two Halves, and I definitely called playmaker quarterback being the winner. So tune in for the next preview game because
Taron Johnson, get healthy. We need you this season, buddy.
I might have my crystal ball going all over the place here. Have a great couple days, guys. We'll talk to you again for the
Comments in
pregame.
YouTube, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take
please.
care, guys.
Like and subscribe.